What is up, YouTube? My name is Trinity, and welcome to my channel, or welcome back if you've been here before, and welcome to another Spooktober video. I think my apartment is haunted. So I have talked about little things that have happened in this apartment where I'm not saying it's haunted. I don't even know how old this place is. I don't think anyone's died here. Weird shit keeps happening, but because it's so spread out, I haven't really made the claim that I think it's haunted or anything. I don't even know if I believe in ghosts. But last night was so fucking weird. So me and my partner, we went to bed. He was saying that it was so hot in the room. He was sweating, and even me, who is very cold in most circumstances, I was sweating. He gets up, he checks the thermostat, and it's cranked to 80 when I have not turned on the heat since last winter, and I've been kind of trying to put it off in order to save some energy. And we go back and forth, and I keep telling him, no, I didn't do it. I've been putting on hoodies and pants and socks in order to stay warm when I'm at home. Turns it off, comes back to bed. 45 minutes to an hour later, I still feel the heat radiating from under the bed where the heater is. I wake him up and I tell him this, like, it's not just residual heat, like, it is still actively hot. He gets up, it's cranked to 80 again. He turns it off, and then he goes to the breaker and he turns off whichever one controls the heating, and nothing weird has happened since. But so many little things have happened in this apartment disjointed from each other. But that was the craziest because I witnessed him turn it off and he did not witness me touching it. So that was kind of scary. So welcome to my life. So today we're going to be talking about the case that kicked off the entire Conjuring universe. We're going to be talking about the haunting of the Perron family, which inspired the 2013 film The Conjuring. In 1971, Roger and Carolyn Perron moved into a 14-bedroom farmhouse in Harrisville, Rhode Island. Along with them came their 5 daughters, Andrea, Nancy, Christine, Cindy, and April. Now, unlike the Conjuring movie that showed their experiences happening over a very short amount of time, they actually lived in this house for 9 whole years, with the paranormal activity beginning not long after they moved in. The 14-bedroom farmhouse, built in 1736, was built on a plot of land that was 8.5 acres, and it knew a lot of other names before becoming widely known as the Conjuring House. Previously, it had been known as the Arnold Estate, the Richardson House, or the Old Brook Farm. Carolyn and the girls almost immediately began noticing really weird occurrences within the house, such as the broom being placed in one spot and disappearing and reappearing in a spot where nobody put it, or huge piles of dirt appearing on newly cleaned floors. Roger claims that he never had any strange experiences in the house, though this could also be chalked up to him not being home a lot due to work. Now, this apparently piqued Carol's interest, which is very surprising to me because I would think that, at least back then, I don't know if the parents were especially religious or not, but I would imagine they would become scared before wanting to know more about the house. But she became interested and she would interview people around the town about the property and then would go to psychics to see how accurate their accounts of the property were. Now, again, I'm not sure how accurate her sources were or how accurate the psychics that were checking these stories were, but she apparently discovered that there had been at least a dozen recorded deaths on the property and probably more than that. This would include multiple drownings in a nearby creek and the murder of a child in the house. And this kind of lined up with what Carolyn and the girls were experiencing because they believed that there were multiple spirits in the house, not just one. One name that really stuck out to Carolyn was that of Bathsheba Sherman, which is a really badass name, who had lived in the house in the 1800s, and she was accused of witchcraft and devil worship. She was also accused of murdering an infant. I'm not sure if it was her own or somebody else's, with a long knitting needle, though she was acquitted due to lack of evidence, which is kind of wild because I feel like back then, especially if you're known as like the town witch, I feel like they wouldn't rely that much on actual evidence that you did something. She was described as a very brutal and violent woman who would beat her farmhands when they displeased her, and she took her own life hanging herself in the attic after one of her children died in the well in the basement of the house. Now, again, all of that was hearsay from whatever Carolyn heard from the locals, so who knows what was true and what was a fabrication, especially since she was remembered as someone who potentially killed an infant and practiced witchcraft. The most threatening entity that they said inhabited the house, Carolyn actually believed wasn't a spirit, but rather was a demon. And she believed that this entity was responsible for the violence and death that plagued the history of the property. This demon or entity or whatever really was hostile towards Carolyn specifically, and she said that she thought that the demon was a female and saw itself as the mistress of the house and therefore saw Carolyn as competition. Within a few months of the family living there, Carolyn decided to call in a paranormal investigation team to see what they could find. And this first team apparently witnessed a lot of the stuff that the family said they were experiencing, such as disembodied voices, strange sounds, strange odors that would come out of nowhere, as well as moving objects. They also claimed to speak with a child spirit named Manny, potentially the child that had been murdered, and an older woman's spirit, and an older woman with a demented spirit. I guess this wasn't enough for Carolyn because she decided to get multiple more opinions from other paranormal investigation teams. And those teams apparently found nothing strange about the house at all. Though, I guess still wanting to validate the experiences of her and her daughters, she contacted a little ghost hunting duo from Monroe, Connecticut named Ed and Lorraine Warren. Now, Ed and Lorraine, as well as their paranormal investigative team, came to the property on several occasions to investigate, where they corroborated what the family was saying and what the first paranormal investigation team said that they witnessed, as well as discovering another spirit that they called the Misty Woman. And after being told the story of Bathsheba, Lorraine began to identify the feminine entity that had beef with Carolyn as Bathsheba, even though I could have sworn I've heard the Warrens say before that a human spirit and a non-human spirit are very different things, though I'm not well versed on very niche Catholic beliefs or what they specifically believed, so I could be missing something. One event in which she named this entity as Bathsheba is when Carolyn was laying on a couch and she suddenly felt a stabbing pain in her calf, and she rolled up her leg and she saw a perfect circular wound. And Lorraine claimed that the huge knitting needle that Bathsheba had apparently used to kill a baby, she had taken to the afterlife with her, and that's what she had used to poke Carolyn. The Warrens decided to perform a seance within the house to communicate with these spirits and expel at least the more dangerous ones. And it was during this seance that Carolyn Perrin apparently became possessed by Bathsheba. Andrea, the oldest Perrin daughter, apparently secretly witnessed this seance, even though the girls were sent away so they were not around all of this. She said, "My mother began to speak a language not of this world, in a voice not her own." She also witnessed seeing her mother's chair levitate and her being thrown across the room. And in contrast to the Conjuring movie, where Ed solves everything by performing an exorcism, the real-life Ed did not have the authority to perform an exorcism. Instead of that happening, the seance was ended by Roger not begging his wife to fight this demon or praying the evil away. He kicked the Warrens out. He was pissed and he didn't believe in any of this. And he thought that they were making his wife's whatever worse. Now, like all high-profile paranormal investigations by the Warrens and anyone else, there is a lot of pushback and allegations of exaggeration and telling outright lies. Andrea Perrin, who in her adulthood actually wrote books about her experiences within the house, even she said that the Conjuring movie is 95% fiction and 5% truth. And the people that lived in the house after the Perrins moved out did not report any sort of paranormal activity, which is becoming sort of a pattern here. Because Roger Perrin wasn't home very often and he never witnessed any of these paranormal occurrences, I think that maybe Carolyn was a true believer, or maybe she had some mental issues that she chalked up to paranormal activity. and that being home with 5 very impressionable children, it might have kind of caused a hysteria within the house with their mom constantly freaking out. So then the girls are believing that they're seeing and experiencing stuff that may not actually be happening. And that kind of begins to demonstrate the accusations of Ed and Lorraine, whether knowingly or unknowingly, preying on vulnerable people for financial gain. And in terms of Bathsheba Sherman, it was determined that she was indeed a real person. She was born in 1812, and in 1844, she married a man named Judson Sherman. A false claim that was made by Carolyn, or at least somebody that she was interviewing, was that none of her children lived past the age of 4. Records say that she had 4 children, and while the fate of 3 of them is unknown, records show that one of her children, named Herbert L. Sherman, lived a long life, outliving his mother and even going on to have his own family. Bathsheba Sherman herself died in May of 1885 at the age of 73 of what was most likely a stroke. And as far as what is going on with the Conjuring house today, it was apparently going up for auction, and Jason Hawes of Ghost Hunters has a GoFundMe currently going in order to raise money to save the house. Individuals, as well as more well-known ghost hunting teams from throughout the paranormal community, have gathered together and donated over $157,000 of the $600,000 goal. Jason Hawes is also matching donations up to $1 million. So it's kind of cool to see a whole bunch of different people from like paranormal ghost hunting TV shows getting involved in paranormal history. He wants to save it, make sure that it isn't like torn down or altered, and make it into like a historical site, which I think is pretty cool. So if you're interested in that, maybe I'll leave the link down below. I'm not recommending one way or another that you donate or not. I just thought it was a cool piece of information that I came across, and I find it funny that it's happening now as I'm making this video. If you guys enjoyed today's video, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Let me know what you think of the Perrin family haunting. Do you think there was really something to it, or do you think that maybe Carolyn had some issues going on, or she was just lonely, or even seeking attention? And then the Warrens came in and saw a potential paycheck out of her. I mean, this was the case that kind of spawned their cinema empire. If you're not subscribed, please hit that subscribe button and click the notification bell so you'll be notified anytime I upload. You'll especially want that for the rest of Spooktober as I attempt to finish all of the cases within the Conjuring universe. But even if I don't, I am going to continue this series until I cover all of the cases before going back to my normally scheduled spooky content. Thank you all so much for watching. I appreciate you guys so much, and I appreciate all of the love and support on the Amityville video. That video absolutely blew up compared to my other stuff, and I just appreciate you guys so much. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.